The snow fell in thick, unforgiving sheets, turning the city into a blur of white and cold silence. But none of it compared to the storm inside Ethan Reed's chest. Christmas Eve was supposed to be a night of warmth and magic, yet all he felt was the sting of failure biting into his bones like frost. His paycheck had been delayed again. The heating in his tiny rented apartment had broken, and all he could afford for his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, was a single candy cane he'd found on clearance at a corner store. Shame pressed on him like an icy hand. He had promised her Christmas would be different this year, brighter, happier, maybe even magical, but magic didn't happen for men like him. Magic didn't visit single dads who worked 2 part-time jobs and still struggled to fill their child's stomach. As he trudged across the slushy pavement, exhausted and defeated, he had no idea that tonight life was about to collide him with a truth so powerful, so heartbreaking, it would shake the very foundation of who he thought he was. If you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Ethan pulled his worn jacket tighter as the wind sliced through him. Lily was home with Mrs. Grant, the elderly neighbor who watched her sometimes. He hated burdening the old woman, but tonight he needed to pick up the last shift at the grocery warehouse so they could survive the rest of the week. His muscles ached with every step, and his mind drifted to Lily's soft voice early that morning, asking if Santa would still find them even if they didn't have a tree. He had forced a smile he didn't feel and told her yes, Santa always found children with good hearts. But deep inside, he feared Santa had stopped visiting them years ago. As he approached the intersection near the old church, something made him slow down. It wasn't the bitter wind or the flickering streetlight. It was the sight of 3 figures huddled on a bench near the bus stop. A woman, thin and fragile-looking, wrapped in a faded coat far too light for the weather, sat curled forward as if trying to shield the 2 tiny human beings clinging to her. 2 little girls, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with matching dark curls and trembling hands, sat on either side of her. One held a cardboard sign that had wilted from the snow. Ethan squinted. The words were smeared from moisture, but he could still make them out. Please, just some food. The world seemed to slow. He blinked hard, thinking maybe exhaustion was making him hallucinate. A mother and twins, begging on Christmas Eve. Something inside his chest twisted painfully. He had seen homeless people before, but something about this woman and the 2 girls felt different, fragile, urgent, like a story carved in grief. They didn't look like people hardened by the streets. They looked like people who had fallen, suddenly and brutally. Ethan hesitated for a moment, torn between the instinct to rush forward and the insecurity gnawing at him. What could he possibly offer? He was barely surviving himself. But as one of the twins reached up to wipe a tear from the woman's cheek with her tiny mitten, he felt something inside him snap. For years he had fought, alone and unseen, doing anything to keep his child safe. And here was a mother losing that battle. Without thinking, he stepped toward them. The wind howled around them as he approached. The woman lifted her head slowly, her eyes red-rimmed and glistening from cold and tears. Ethan felt those eyes pierce something deep within him, pain, exhaustion, and a desperation so raw it could crush a heart. The twins shivered under the thin blanket draped over their laps. Their little noses were red, their cheeks wine-chapped, their lips pale. They were hungry. He could see it in the way they clung to their mother, in the hollow look in their eyes that no child should ever have. Ethan swallowed hard. His own pockets were nearly empty. He had nothing to give except the half sandwich he had planned to eat during his shift. It wasn't much, but when the twins' eyes drifted toward the bag in his hand, hope flickered, and hope was something he couldn't deny them. He handed it to the woman. She hesitated, eyes wide with embarrassment and gratitude tangled together, then accepted it with trembling hands. The twins leaned in, sharing tiny bites, as if afraid to take too much at once. Watching them, Ethan felt both warmth and guilt flush through him. He asked the woman softly if she had somewhere to go, someone waiting. She lowered her eyes and shook her head, mumbling a broken explanation. No home, no family nearby, no job after her workplace had shut down, no savings left. She had been evicted 3 nights earlier, and had been trying to keep the girls warm since. Every shelter was full for the holiday. She had tried everywhere. Ethan's breath caught. Homeless? On Christmas Eve. He imagined Lily in their place, cold, hungry, frightened. The thought made his heart squeeze painfully. He didn't think long. He simply told her he couldn't leave them here. She tried to protest, insisting she didn't want to burden a stranger. But her voice shook, and her eyes betrayed the truth. She was terrified, running on the last drop of strength. Ethan led them to his apartment. The heating was broken, but at least it was four walls. As they walked, the twins clung to their mother's hands, taking unsure steps, and Ethan shielded them from the wind with his own jacket. It wasn't much, but it was something. Mrs. Grant glanced curiously when they entered the building, but when she saw the twins' red noses and the woman's trembling limbs, her expression softened. She had always told Ethan he had too big a heart for a man who had suffered so much. Inside the apartment, Lily looked up from the couch with wide, curious eyes. When she saw the twins, her face lit with innocent excitement. Ethan explained gently that they were guests for the night. Lily, warm-hearted like her father, immediately offered the twins her blanket and her one candy cane. Ethan's throat tightened watching her. The woman introduced herself as Mara and her daughters Sophie and Sarah. As she spoke, her voice occasionally cracked, revealing how hard she had fought to stay composed. Ethan made them instant noodles with the last packet he had. The twins ate slowly at first, then a little faster, as if afraid the food might disappear. When everyone settled down, Ethan glanced around his small living room, 2 blankets, a thin mattress, and a broken heater. It wasn't much, but for the first time in years the room felt full. Yet beneath the fragile warmth, something stirred in Ethan, a strange, inexplicable familiarity. Mara's eyes, her voice, something about her felt like a half-remembered dream. He shook it off, blaming exhaustion, but the truth was coming, and it would break him. Later, when the twins finally fell asleep cuddled against Lily, and the apartment grew quiet except for the faint buzzing of the broken heater, Mara sat on the floor, knees drawn close, staring at her hands. Ethan could see her fighting tears, battling guilt, shame, and fear all at once. He sat near her, offering a quiet presence rather than question. Then she whispered, almost too softly to hear, that she hadn't always been like this. She used to be stable, safe, happy. She had a partner once, a good man who loved her. But life had a way of ripping people apart without warning. He had died in an accident 2 years ago, and the downward spiral had begun. She had no family left, no support. Every day had been survival, and now she was simply tired. As she spoke, Ethan felt his stomach twist, not because of her words, but because of something he suddenly recognized. A detail, a memory, a name she mentioned from her past, a place. His heart stumbled. He stared at her face more closely now. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her jaw. It hit him like a punch to the chest. He knew her. Not well, not personally, but he had seen her years before. Before life had broken her. Before she had lost everything. She used to work at a daycare where he would drop Lily when she was still a toddler. Mara had been the gentle, smiling woman who always carried Lily when she fell asleep, who always knelt to tie her shoes, who always spoke softly to the children as if the world itself deserved tenderness. He remembered her, but he doubted she remembered him. He didn't say anything, not yet. He didn't want to embarrass her or overwhelm her. Instead, he simply said he was glad they found each other tonight. Something emotional flickered in her eyes, as if she felt the same strange connection but couldn't place it. Over the next hour, the cold apartment slowly filled with warmth, not physical warmth, but the kind shared between people who understood suffering. Ethan talked about raising Lily alone, losing his wife when Lily was still a baby. The years of juggling jobs and battling guilt. Mara listened with soft eyes, occasionally looking at the sleeping twins as if seeing shadows of her own struggles. For the first time, in a long time, Ethan didn't feel alone. As dawn approached, the room looked peaceful. 3 sleeping children curled together, a mother finally resting, and a single father sitting awake, watching over them all, feeling something shift inside him. He didn't know what would happen next. He didn't have much, but he knew he couldn't let Mara and the twins return to the streets, and he wouldn't. Not ever. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world and helps keep these emotional stories alive. Before you read the ending, comment below. Kindness makes miracles. The days that followed unfolded like a quiet miracle. Ethan and Mara talked often, sharing burdens that had been locked inside their hearts for years. The twins grew attached to Lily, filling the apartment with giggles and warmth. Mrs. Grant helped with blankets and warm meals. Neighbors donated old coats. The broken heater was repaired thanks to a kind landlord moved by their situation. Ethan helped Mara find a part-time job at the warehouse. In return, Mara helped take care of Lily after school. Slowly, the darkness around their lives began to lift. One evening, when the girls were asleep and snow fell softly outside, Mara looked at Ethan with eyes full of gratitude and whispered that he had saved her life. But Ethan shook his head. He told her she had saved his too. She reminded him what it felt like not to struggle alone. What it felt like to hope again. Christmas had given him not just a miracle, but a family he never expected. And Mara, with tears glistening, softly said she felt the same. Their lives didn't become perfect overnight, but they became warmer, brighter, full of possibility. And Ethan thanked the universe every day for that snowy Christmas Eve, when he had seen a mother and twins begging for food, and discovered a truth that changed everything. That sometimes the people we rescue are the very ones meant to rescue us back. If this story moved you, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these emotional stories coming, and it truly means more than you know.